What is up, guys? Taiki here, and today I'm very honored to have Austin on the show here. He runs a YouTube channel called FTMAlerts. He's been covering the Fantom ecosystem for a couple months now. So I just wanted him to, I guess, go on the channel, explain like why he's so bullish on Fantom, and go over the forums that are currently on Fantom. So how are you doing, Austin? And thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, Taiki, thanks for having me on, buddy. I appreciate it. Always happy to connect with some new people, man.
Yeah, so I guess like when I research new ecosystems, I always like seeing that there's like someone out there that's like dedicating like, their entire YouTube channel to one particular ecosystem. For Terra, there was Terabytes, and now for FTM, there's FTM alerts that you're running, right? So can you just go over like your crypto journey and like how you like when did you get into crypto? When did you get into Fantom, and like how are you so bullish on Fantom? Like how did you build that conviction?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I got into crypto like a lot of people in the latter part of 2017. I hate telling this part of my story, but I'm gonna tell it. Is my first two buys were Tron and XRP, just like any noob, right? And I think XRP was like, I don't even remember. I'd have to look at a chart, but it was like running at $1.50, and I'm like, wow, what a bargain, you know? I actually, even after it tanked, I'm pretty sure I got my little brother to drop like 15 grand in it, which he just got flattened. So, but I have this kind of weird thing about me. Not a lot of things interest me, but when something does interest me, like you're probably the same way. I just kind of grip onto it and I want to learn everything I can, right? And so over the next couple of years, I got into mining, kind of taught myself how to build some mining rigs and started mining a whole ton of shit coins. And so fast forward to, I guess, late 2018 is what it was. There was a Twitter influencer that I was following, and I still trying to find my bearings. And I had his tweets on notification, and I got a tweet from him that said the Fantom ICO was about to happen, and I had never heard of Fantom before in my life. And so I hopped in there. Now, being in the United States, it wasn't an ICO I could participate in. But I did start trying to like go through their infographics and read the white paper, and I left there way more confused than when I went in, and none of it
Yeah.
made any damn sense to me.
That's how you usually is when you research ICOs. It's just like, what is
Yeah,
this?
it's yeah, exactly. And I know the guys behind it are like super high level. So, but what started happening, and this is kind of a weird thing in my experience, is Fantom just continued to like reappear in my life. It was one of those tokens that like I'd find myself watching a Mike Kong video, who's the CEO of Fantom, or I'd just find myself in their Telegram group chatting around. And I remember I bought some Fantom off KuCoin mid 2019, held it, didn't really go hard. Fast forward to March 2020, anyone that was around knows what happened. The market got the whole black swan just flattened, right? Bitcoin went down to 3,500, and Fantom went down to, I think its low was 38 sats, which was a little under half a penny. And
Half a penny, yeah.
yeah, and on March 13th, and I remember it because it's the day before my son's birthday.
Okay.
I had to like do a calendar in my head. I started buying Fantom, and it was one of those moves that's like I wasn't gonna tell my wife about it, but I just
Yeah.
kind of started emptying the bank account into Fantom at that point and accumulating. And I was staking, and what ended up really like driving my conviction is I got into a private group called the Fantom Kings, which is still in existence. There's about 100 of us. And we had all the team members in there. Mike Kong, Mike Chen, Simone was in there with us, not Andre. We could never get him in. And we continued to communicate with the team, right? And for me, like crypto has a lot of, if you want to go be in 100 different tokens, like you totally can. That's available to you, right? And if you have the time to research them, God bless you. I have 3 kids. I just simply do not have that kind of time. But I did kind of fall in love with the mission. I fell in love with the team. I started to really understand what they were driving at, which is there's a lot of pain points when it comes to Ethereum, right? We all know that. And they were looking to solve it, but not just solve it, they were looking to solve it in a new way. And so, I mean, I just became a big believer in what they're doing. And from that point to this point, a hell of a lot has gone on. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be able to buy, I mean, I feel like a lot of people will hear that story and be like, oh my God, you're so lucky you bought Fantom at like half a penny. But I guess like to buy like FTM like over a year ago in like March when the crash happened, like needs a lot of conviction. And I totally understand like the bit about like, yeah, like not trying to tell anyone. It's just like, you're just like emptying the clip like, because you just like have that conviction, right? So yeah, so I think 3 or 4 months ago, you started building out your YouTube channel, right? So like, what really started that? Like,
Well, yeah. So, I mean, YouTube actually is the most recent iteration of FTM alerts, right? So FTM alerts, I took my old Twitter account that had like, I think I had like 1,500 or 2,000 followers on it. And I was actually chatting in Kings and I'm like, hey, is anyone doing like this alerts type of thing that they do over on Binance Smart Chain? Like, we'll let you know when something new is building, and nobody was doing it. So I just converted over my Twitter account, which I really thought that was all it was going to be perfectly honest. And it exploded. And from that point, I mean, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later that I was approached by somebody who's one of the admins of my Discord now. And he said, hey, man, we should set up a Discord for this. I mean, this is really starting to happen. So he turned loose on that. We now have 7,200 members on the Discord, I believe 20 moderators and administrators, and the Twitter is at about 33,000 plus followers at the moment. So YouTube was a brand new thing. That was actually a suggestion by one of the followers that came on and said, hey, why don't you start doing these videos? Now, I didn't even know how to upload a video to YouTube. Let me be clear. I'd never done anything about it before. And that just kind of, just kind of snowballed into itself. And now I just, I look for new video ideas. If we have any prominent developers that want to hop on camera, the Fantom Foundation has been on with me multiple times. And yeah, it really kind of turned into something very fun and cool.
yeah, I think your YouTube channel is great. I think it's always nice to like know that there's like one channel that's like covering FTM, right? Because that's what you do. And like, I think I've been subscribed to your channel for like 2 months now, and I watch any video that interests me. And I think the value that you provide is that because you've been in like Fantom so early, like you're well connected within the ecosystem. So, whenever let's say Spookyswap is adding a new feature, you can have them on and talk about it, right? That's something that a lot of other channels cannot do just because they're not as well connected. So speaking of which, let's just go over like what I guess, I mean, I run a yield farming channel, right? So can you just like briefly go over like the current yield opportunities on Fantom? Because I feel like a month ago, like, I mean, at the time of recording, the price of Fantom is at like roughly $1.60, which is absolutely insane. We had Luna pump, we have Avalanche pump, we had Solana pump, and now we have Fantom, right? All these L1s that's like not competing with Ethereum, but like, alternatives to Ethereum. So yeah, if you can go over some.
You want me to jump on screen share here real quick?
Yeah, that'd be great.
You got it, buddy. All right. Let's see what we're looking at. All right. So, well, okay. So the biggest DEX on Fantom right now is going to be Spookyswap. They have a TVL of 339,000. Their native token is called XBOO. Believe it or not, their rewards are actually pretty decent still. Right. So if you don't want to, be in the quote unquote death pool, right, which is the native token, there's plenty of yield opportunities when it comes to supplying Fantom and stable coins or a whole ton of other stuff. You guys know what yield farming is. I don't really need to go over that with you. Spookyswap, in my opinion, I mean, I think they're going to continue to be the premier DEX on Fantom. I'm also a huge bull on, we could call them their competitor, which is Spiritswap. I know those guys really, really well. But as far as Spookyswap is concerned, they have a top-notch team. They're, obviously audited, but they have a whole ton of features that they have coming out. And now I don't want to start any rumors or anything, but I have a very strong feeling that they're going to be releasing some big partnerships soon, which is going to be very bullish for their native token. So that's one that I've been, accumulating very heavily over the last, throughout the entire dip. I mean, I farmed the entire dip and just accumulated,
And the cool thing about like being early in an ecosystem is that like when no one's paying attention, you can just like farm it, right? And I mean, you might feel stupid if like it doesn't do anything for like 2 months. But when it does pump, it's like, damn, like I've been farming this for 2 months. It's like, damn, like this is crazy. And yeah, like when I choose like I guess like the premier DEX for a particular ecosystem, I like betting on like the current winners, right? I think it's more likely that a winner will stay a winner than a second place DEX like flipping the first DEX. And I also like the staking feature on Spookyswap better because with xBOO, you can stake your boo without having to like lock it up for a particular period of time. But with Spirit, you kind of have to lock it up like month, 2 months, or whatever, similar to Curve. So I think Spookyswap has higher TVL, like 340 million. Spirit has, I believe, like 120 million or something like that. And I think their staking feature is much better. So,
we should. Oops, sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go for it. Yeah, I was gonna say like if I were to like, or I'm gonna bridge funds over. I haven't done it yet, but I will at some point. I'll definitely be farming on Spookyswap. Maybe the Fantom Boo pool, the Fantom USDC pool. Because APRs are still good. Obviously, the APR is being paid out in the Spookyswap token. So if the token dumps, then the APRs go down. But that's like the risk of, I guess, farming in this ecosystem. And yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, so what I wanted to actually mention for a lot of people are familiar with the xSushi model of staking, right? Where a portion of the fees go into a contract and are automatically used to buy back the token and then distributed to the stakers. So that's essentially what this is, right? And if we come down here and take a look at analytics, right? Today was a pretty nuts day for the market. And wow, I haven't looked at it yet, but this is their biggest day ever at $195 million in volume for the last 24 hours, which is massive. And it's going to obviously result in some massive buybacks. So a couple of things I want to tell you about xBOO, right? So xBOO is essentially your receipt token that gains in value versus the amount of BOO that it's worth. So when you deposit BOO here, you receive xBOO in return. They have recently given us some alternate options on what we can do with that xBOO instead of just keeping it in our wallet. They were recently given one of the developer incentives from the Fantom Foundation, which they're basically just giving back to the community. So you can take your xBOO, you can stake it for Fantom, you can stake it for Scream, Foo, which is an NFT project, or Stake, which is another yield farming project that's involved in all sorts of stuff. And this down here, there is still an IFO, but that's going to be ending soon. But it's got a very nice yield on it right now. So now another little piece of alpha that I want to drop is for anyone that's familiar with Abracadabra Money, which is, you can take your interest-bearing tokens, lock them up, mint magic internet money, and go about your business, which is essentially a stable coin. xBOO should be added to that, I believe, very soon. So that gives it even more utility.
Yeah, I have one question. So on step 2 here, like when you stake xBOO, actually, let's just like go through like what xBOO is. So I think correct me when I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, but I think when you swap on Spookyswap, the protocol takes a 0.2% fee, right? But 0.03% of that will go to xBOO holders, right? The people that have staked their BOO. So xBOO is a way for you to take your BOO and lock it up and earn transaction fees within the protocol, and which also incentivizes people to not farm and dump the token, which we obviously want. And I guess the step 2 part, when you stake xBOO, that's pretty cool, right? Because part of the reason FTM is pumping is because of the 370 million Fantom liquidity mining incentive program, right? And their Spookyswap, the team is utilizing that to essentially even incentivize people to first stake BOO and then stake xBOO, so to even lock up the token to decrease the sell pressure. So the one question I have is, when you stake your xBOO, do you still get the transaction fees, right? Like,
yes,
your xBOO will still grow over time, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So the way that xBOO works, it's not like a normal staking. One xBOO token gains in value versus how many BOO tokens it's worth, right? So when they first started the xBOO, pool, it's gained 33% versus BOO. So if you started out with one xBOO is worth one BOO, now your one xBOO is worth 1.33 BOO. That's going to continue to happen in the background, no matter what you do with your xBOO tokens. So those xBOO tokens are going to continue to appreciate in value in relation to your BOO tokens. Yeah. So you just take them, put them down here, and what you're getting is you're getting this plus this. Is the way that
wild.
Works.
Yeah, maybe I need to bridge over now. It's similar to like, so I cover Luna, the Terra ecosystem. It's like AUST always gains in value over UST because AUST is appreciating 19.5%. And I guess xSushi too, right? xSushi always gains value against Sushi, etc. Okay, so that's super cool. Spookyswap is the DEX with the highest TVL, It has xBOO, and you can stake your xBOO to earn more rewards. So, like this is definitely a really good farming opportunity. And, you're not really taking on impermanent loss risk if you're, staking BOO and then staking xBOO. Awesome. So
one thing I do want to touch on before we move forward. So there are two main bridges over to Fantom. One is multi-chain, which is kind of clunky and developer-y. It looks like this.
Yeah.
And that was kind of confusing to people for a little while. So what the guys at Spookyswap did is they essentially took the same contracts and put it in a much more, beautiful, user-friendly UI here. So it works from Fantom, BSC, and Ethereum. So this really is going to probably be the most widely used bridge by people that are bridging over. You get the same benefits as multi-swap, but just a lot easier UI. What's cool about this though, because people have to hit this first, right? When they want to bring money over, that puts them straight on Spookyswap, which gives them, in my opinion, a huge advantage for new people that are showing up in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I agree. I was like thinking about bridging to Fantom, like I think in like April or something. And I think at that point, like I looked at multi-chain and I was like so confused. I was like, what is this? Like, what have they built? But yeah, I think this, if like Spookyswap, if this UI gets more people bridging over, then it's more likely that people use Spookyswap, right? Because they're already on Spooky, so like why not just swap there too? So me personally, I think Spookyswap is the winner. I think Spirit is also good, but it's like number one and number two, right? So do you want to go over Spiritswap?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm dunking on Spirit. I'm not really dunking on Spirit. I'm just saying like, hey, like I'm bullish. Spooky.
No. Let's holler at Spirit. So
yeah,
Spirit, I'm a huge Spirit bull. I mean, obviously you could tell I'm a huge Spookyswap bull. I'm also very, very bullish on Spirit. The difference, so I know on a relational level, I know Erie8, who's the main developer behind Spookyswap. He and I talk on Discord all the time, but he's also an anonymous developer. So it's not somebody that I like know face to face, right? The Spiritswap team is not anonymous. They are a public team. I've been able to get them on AMAs. I chat with them on a daily basis. They keep me very up to date on what the team is doing behind the scenes, right? So while Spiritswap may not have the TVL or the volume that Spooky's getting, they are going to be, in my opinion, in a very close second to Spooky, which makes them a huge competitor. So there are a couple of differences when it comes to Spiritswap. We can head over to the farms just to take a look at a couple of these. So they are paying, what is that, LPAR? Well, that doesn't make any sense at all, does it? Oh, the LP APRs are not showing properly. Okay. So apparently right now, the Fantom USDC pool over here is paying 294.56%, which is a whale. And that very likely is completely due to LP percentage right now due to the huge market movements we just had, because that's going to be probably the most popular pool. One thing that Spirit does, and Spooky started doing this too, but Spirit likes to latch on to some of the good programs that or projects that may not have a home otherwise for their farming tokens. And so like Just You is it's like an OnlyFans built on the Fantom blockchain, right? So Magic Internet Money, I think we talked about that earlier. Curve, Sushi, Link, Wi-Fi. So there's a ton of pools here. Very recently, they released their inSPIRIT, and inSPIRIT is their version of the VE Curve staking model, which is essentially you take your tokens, you lock them up for a predefined amount of time, and you earn on the revenue of the DEX. You have the ability to vote on, they call them gauges, but here we're calling them boosted farms. So you can essentially use your weight, how much you own, to tell them how much to spit at each one of these farms based upon whatever suits you the best, I guess. And then what else does that get you? There's like airdrops and all sorts of stuff you can do with inSPIRIT. So that's kind of like their special, it's their version of VE Curve. But the Spirit Fantom pool, which is, it's not a small pool. I mean, it's got 23.5 million in it, is popping out 195% plus a hell of an APR as well on the LPs. So a lot of options here when it comes to Spiritswap. I'm personally like, for a lot of these, I mean, I do farm a lot, and I'm gonna kind of show you how I go about that once we get over to Taro. But I am big on accumulating these DEX tokens, and that's just my own personal opinion because I'm super bullish on the Fantom ecosystem, and I know what these guys have in the works behind the scenes. And so, you know, take that for what it's worth. Not
Yeah.
financial advice.
Yeah, none of this financial advice. So I know that they're trying building out like a lending and borrowing platform on Spirit. Is that already is that ready, or are they still building it out?
Yeah, so they launched it. It's through Ola Finance. So it's, you know, kind of, I mean, this is it.
Okay,
I
okay.
I actually haven't dug into it very much. I'm gonna tell you why. Because, and this is great to have it built in, you know, and right now, aside from Taro, this is the only place where you can lend out your Spirit token. But you can see the APYs are, well, they're non-existent, right? Right. So
Yeah, no
unless you
one's
want to
using it.
use
Yeah.
it as collateral, you know, I mean, there's really not much going on over here. So I haven't really dug into the lending and
Okay.
borrowing very much. One thing that I know Spirit's doing on the background, and Spooky's doing this too, but they're really trying to foster developers, right? If there's a developer that wants to build on Fantom, you know, reach out to Spirit, reach out to Spooky. You'll find that they have an entire team that's ready to support you with your project, assuming you're going to launch on their AMM.
Got it. Yeah, can you look at can you show the inSPIRIT tab just for my
Yeah,
audience, just so like we know what it looks like?
definitely.
Yeah.
So, so I've actually got a little bit there because I did a video on it. So
Uh-huh.
essentially the way that it works is, actually, I'll show you, I'll lock a little bit up. So we'll take 3.45 Spirit. The max time is 4
4
years,
years.
right?
It's a
And
long
then
time.
it's a long time. And honestly, with that, you know, you kind of want to, I mean, what a lot of these guys do is they max for the they lock for the max time, and then they're just going to keep on maxing it out because they're riding the wave of what, you know, of what Spiritswap will do. Right
Yeah.
now, this is the percentage, which I actually assume, my personal feeling is that's going to go up. They pay out once a week. And the percentages are a little bit different on Spiritswap than they are on Spooky. So while Spooky charges 0.2%, Spirit charges 0.3%, and 0.05% of each trade goes into a contract, which once a week is used to buy back Spirit on the open market. So it's
Got
similar
it.
to the xBOO model, but it's this model here. And you'll see the next distributions happening in a day. So if you lock up for 4 years, what you're essentially assuming, you know, you're going to get a weekly paycheck. Now, whether it's $1 or, you know, $1,000, that's completely dependent really upon the exchange volume. I mean, that's really what it is. You can see that a lot of people are pretty bullish on this though, because they had 90 million out of,
Mhm.
I think, 300 million that got locked up, and the average lock time 648 days. So most people
That's a
pick 2
long time.
years. That's a long
Yeah.
time, man. We don't even know what crypto is going to look like in 2 years from now, you know?
Yeah, that takes some like crazy conviction. Like me personally, like I'm not too comfortable. I mean, if I were to use inSPIRIT, like I might lock it up for like a week or a month.
Mhm.
That's why I kind of like Spooky's model better. It's just like, you know, xBOO, you know, it's I don't have to commit to anything. But hey, like if you're bullish on Spirit and like, you know, like 4 years from now, like Fantom's like a top 10 ecosystem and like Spooky or Spirit's doing like massive volume, like yeah, you're gonna get a fat payday, right? So
Yeah, and if
uh,
you're willing to be
different
patient,
options.
it should be noted that within the first year, you're going to make what you locked up back, right? And you
Yeah.
might even make more than that based on whatever the APR ends up being. So, like for me, what I did is I took 30% of my Spirit and I locked it for 4 years, and every week I relock it again. I max it out. So the reason you do that is because the longer you lock it for, the more inSPIRIT tokens you're given, and the more you hold, the more you earn. Because inSPIRIT is a naturally deflationary token, meaning it's not deflationary like there's a 1% burn. The closer you get to your unlock date, the less inSPIRIT shows in your wallet. Is the way that works. It
Okay.
automatically does that.
I see. Well, I think this is a good overview of both Spooky and Spirit. Do you want to go move over to what the thing you mentioned earlier about Terra?
Yeah, let's talk about Taro. Man,
Yeah.
Taro's flying. So Taro is it's a project that was created by, his pseudonym is Tigris of Gaul. He was is still a very active member of the FTMAlerts Discord. In fact, while this project was being built, we were getting screenshots. He was letting us know, okay, I deployed this contract. We were getting step by step along the way. And I'll be quite honest, it took me like a day of playing with this to figure out exactly what this is. And let me see if I have any Fantom in my wallet. Oh, I've got like 3. So here's what we can do. I'll give you a kind of a brief overview of what this is. So at its core, Taro is a lending and borrowing protocol, but different than like Cream or Scream or Compound is, because what Taro with Taro, what you want to do is you'll go to one of the various dexes. So let's say I'm farming, we'll say I'm farming Fantom Boo over on Spookyswap. I would take my LP tokens, not that pool. I would deposit them in the appropriate pool, which would not be that one. It would be this one here. And what they allow you to do is use your LP tokens as collateral, and you can leverage them up. So the way that this works is you deposit your LP tokens, they immediately go back to Spooky and start farming for you. They're automatically compounded in a vault. So if you do nothing else, it's kind of like a vaulting auto compounder, right? Nothing else. But what you can do once you deposit is this little leverage button is going to show up. And assuming there is liquidity, because people will come in and supply single-sided liquidity on both of these, you can leverage up your LP up to 6x with the. So for instance, if you're farming with $100, you deposit $100 worth of LP, you can leverage it up to 3x, which is not a huge leverage. It's the potential is there for liquidation, but you got a pretty big wide range to swing. And now what's happening is you're farming with $300 instead of the original 100, and it's auto compounding every X amount of minutes, right? So that it's a pretty unique protocol in that way. For those, risk averse like myself, you can come in here and you can do single-sided lending. So for right now, if you wanted to just lend out your BOO token, you get 52%. If you want to lend out your Fantom, you get 34%. But here's where they're really unique. Each of these pools is segregated from the one next to it. So you might notice that supplying the Taro token here, whoops, gets you 360%, but here it gets you 23%. And that has to do with this utilization number. The more that's being used, the higher APR you're going to get for single-sided supplying that token. So if you scroll just a little bit, you'll notice, 56% here for Fantom. 361% here for Fantom, right? And it's because these are segregated that's the case. And so if you just come on and you take a look at what is needed at the particular time, it's going to swing, obviously, based upon utilization, but there's some really cool opportunities here. And just like with xBOO, what's going to happen when you deposit in one of these pools is you're going to receive a receipt token in the form of C Taro, collateral Taro, and that's going to automatically accumulate value versus whatever token you're lending out. So I mean, it's pretty simple. I encourage people to play around with it. I have done a couple of videos on it, but when you come in here and you take something that's initially earning 108%, you lever it up. So that's going to bring you up to, we'll call it 330%. And then there's also an additional farming APR on top of that, where when you lever up, you're now going to also earn Taro tokens as well. And so there's just like all sorts of strategies and ways to play around with this if you're willing to learn about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I feel like if someone were like more risk seeking, they can just like leverage, let's say like the Fantom Boo pool, right? It's just like, if I was like, I'm super bullish on this, let's lever up, let's go to town, then you can do that. But if you're more risk averse, then you can say, okay, like Taiki's a degen, he wants to borrow lots of money, so let me just apply Fantom and Boo so Taiki can borrow, and I'll just like, he'll just pay me a particular interest rate, and that's totally like safe too. And there's already $68 million locked, which is, that's pretty high. The UI is kind of confusing. Like I feel like, the first time I came on this website, I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, there's so many numbers. So ideally they can simplify this a little bit more, but I guess it's kind of hard to simplify something such as like leveraged, yield farming on top of like lending and borrowing, where they also pay out in the Taro token. But I mean, I guess given the complexity of the protocol, like once you understand it, it is pretty simple, right? And I think something that's like really underrated is like, yeah, like if you're bullish on Fantom, you can take your Fantom and, just lend it out, right? Just lend it out, find whatever has the highest supply APR, lend it out. Or if you're super risk averse, you can take dollars, right? You can just like, you can take dollars, Bitcoin, or like, any other like safer asset and lend it out too, and earn like Taro tokens or just like whatever APR that the lending is paying out, right? So for example, like 21% on Bitcoin that you're showing there.
Yeah. How about
310% on
310%
DAI.
on DAI, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, they're not sustainable. And the efficient market hypothesis says that, hey, like if everyone sees 310% on DAI, people will supply that and it'll go down. But I
Right.
think in an emerging ecosystem, these rates will sustain itself for like longer than one may think. So it's definitely like a really good place to park your capital. Like you right there that you're showing, it's 56% on ETH, right, and 400% on Fantom, because of 100% utilization rate. So people are dying to borrow more Fantom, I guess. It's pretty wild, pretty wild. Thanks for showing this.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
how like I guess obviously like taking leverage is risky, right? Because you can get liquidated, but like in terms of like lending it out, like for example, if I just wanted to lend out ETH on the Fantom ETH pool on Spirit,
Mhm.
like what's the risk I'm taking, right? I'm just taking on the smart contract risk of Taro, right?
You're taking on smart contract risk. Risk of loss, not aside from smart contract risk, is really non-existent when it comes to single-sided lending. What could happen is you could go to Taro and say, hey, I want all my money back now, but it's being lent out. And so if there's not like a reserve pool of other
Yeah,
people lending in, you might have to wait like a day to get your money back out, which is really not a huge deal. I've had that happen on a couple of assets, and it'll tell you, okay, you can withdraw this much now. I'll withdraw that. I'll come back in 2 hours. And because I withdrew that, the supply APR skyrocketed. So somebody caught that, came in, supplied that, and now I can pull the rest of mine out, right? Is the way that that works.
yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah. I wonder if it's like a better model, because right now this everything is like segregated, right? It's like Fantom on like this particular pool cannot be lent out to something in another pool. But I wonder if it maybe in the future, like if I can just supply Fantom generally into Taro, and then like the protocol can spread it out. But I guess that also introduces more risk.
Well, you kind of bring up something interesting. So, where I've really been utilizing Taro is I've been lending out my ICE tokens. ICE is the native token of Popsicle Finance, which was the very first DeFi protocol on Fantom. Popsicle suffered a hack about, gosh, a month ago, maybe. They had 3 top tier audits done, and somebody found an exploit, and they got exploited for $30 million. And of course, the token took a huge dump,
Yeah,
as would be expected, right?
yeah,
So Popsicle Finance, I'm super duper bullish on Popsicle Finance, and what they have over on the Ethereum side, they're a multi-chain platform, but on the Ethereum side, what they came up with and what actually got exploited was a yield optimizer, essentially. And so you provide LP tokens, they're going over to Uniswap V3, right, which you use a kind of a range where you want to provide liquidity, and they're constantly adjusting the range on your behalf to make sure that you're getting the maximum yield, which was a great thing that they're going to be relaunching here pretty soon. What they're also going to be launching, that was over on the Ethereum side, they're going to be launching their Fantom version of that they're calling Limone. Now, what you just mentioned is how would I possibly provide Fantom and just have it kind of be lent at the most optimal rate all over the place? Well, that probably is something Popsicle Finance would look at, and probably something they could incorporate into the product that they're going to be launching soon. I'm an uber bull on ICE. I just want to like share that. I think Danny behind this is the same brain behind Abracadabra Money, Mimspell, right? Magic Internet Money over on the Ethereum side, which is massive, and they've got a huge amount of TVL. So I think when they relaunch, not financial advice, but ICE is going to fly. That's just my prediction.
yeah, yeah. Austin is just mega bull hard on everything. So
I am.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he's been right. I mean, Austin's been right. I mean, he's been banging drums on Fantom since like 3-4 months ago, and now it's like, all right, price exploration. I mean, we're recording this on September 7th, right? September 7th, when the markets are taking a big dump.
Mm-hmm.
But Fantom is just like pulling a big green dildo. So it's definitely, yeah. I mean, you have to pay attention to tokens and ecosystem that's showing strength, right? While the entire market is showing weakness, and ending. I mean, like looking at all these ecosystems that are native to the Fantom ecosystem, I think that's really really good to see, right? Because you don't want to you don't want like a new ecosystem to just have like a bunch of ETH projects, right? You want a mix of ETH projects and native ecosystem projects, because it makes the experience for bridging on Fantom much better.
Mm-hmm.
So screaming of native projects, can you go over Scream now?
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about Scream. So So the website is scream.sh.
410 million. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, so they have a TVL right now. So we take the supply and minus the borrow. So we've got, what's that? What is that? 150,
56.
100. Yeah, thank you. I'm not good at math. All right, so I know the Scream team very well. So this is it's a Compound V2 fork, essentially, right? Which, you know, Compound Finance, the initial iteration turned into Cream Finance. So they just got kind of cute with the name and called it Scream because it kind of fit with the whole Halloween-y vibe that apparently has taken shape. So, I mean, Scream, very, very simple. You can come on, you can single-side lend your assets. Obviously, they're not going to put forth the same, you know, type of return that you're going to get over on Taro. But what you can do once you have lent that asset is you can use that asset as collateral, and you can borrow against it up to a certain ratio, right? So that's pretty simple. They pay an APY in you know, the native token as well as Scream. So, you know, if you were to lend USDC, for example, if you just want to hang out in stablecoins, 17.5% APY, 10% in the Scream token. Now the Scream token has been, let me just show a chart real quick because the Scream token went bazingas. They went bananas, man. I don't know what it looks like today, so I might eat my words after this huge ass drop. But so versus Fantom, yeah, it's still up at 91. So this was like the seed sale down here at 32, I believe. And it just went nuts. And if honestly, it kind of looks like it's flagging out to me, man, on a grand scale here. So anything could happen. But, you know, I will tell you, for whatever reason, the Scream token has really kicked ass. This is a super professional team who I communicate with quite often. I think they're, last I heard, they're going to be at the dev conference out in Abu Dhabi. So hopefully we'll get to meet face to face. But this is a solid platform, just solid platform. So if you're, you know, again, risk averse, looking to lend out your single-sided assets, scream.sh.
Yeah, I mean,
they have a farm too, which I should have mentioned. The farm, their farm is actually cranking out a decent. Okay, so here it is, 213%. Excuse me, and they use a third-party stake. I know these guys as well. They're absolutely awesome. So that runs through Spooky, I believe. So just grab your Scream tokens, pair it up with Fantom, and yeah, there's that.
yeah, that's wild. Because I think when I first was looking at Fantom, like on the channel, I think Scream had like 20 million in TVL, and I'm like, okay, like, I mean, when I first saw Scream, I was like, okay, why did they name it Scream, right? Because it sounds so familiar, so similar to Cream, and I don't trust Cream at all. So I thought it wasn't gonna like gain TVL because like to the layman, it's like, okay, this is a fork of Cream, and Cream gets exploited. So like, why would I use Scream? But Scream is actually not a fork of Cream; it's a fork of Compound. I guess Cream is also a fork of Compound, so I guess that doesn't really inspire that much confidence. But
well,
I think
it's
the
a
market
fork
is
of
telling us.
Compound V2, and I don't know what the differences are, but he did kind of correct me on that the other day, that they're not a fork of Cream, they're a fork of Compound V2. And it should be noted that, so one of the core team members, anyone that's been around crypto for any amount of time knows Andre Grenier. He is the, you know, essentially, we call him the god of DeFi around Fantom circles, but he's the brain behind Yearn Finance and all of that. And he's also a core team member of Fantom, right? He came up with I call it the Lachesis consensus, but some people call it Lachesis. I don't really know. I don't really care. But anyhow, so, you know, Cream was essentially adopted into the Yearn ecosystem, right? Cream got taken over by Yearn. And so anything that has any even remote relation to Andre is going to get a lot of love on the Fantom side. And so that, I think, is part of the reason they went with that.
Yeah, I mean, Andre is like a legend, right, in DeFi. I mean, just creating YFI and just like I don't think he like received any tokens. I think he just like fair launched it and just gave it away to the community. He doesn't even work on it anymore, I believe. So yeah, he's definitely a legend in like the DeFi circles. And yeah, like I also love how like the mouse is like the Scream character. I just noticed that. Yeah. Wait, can you go into the staking? Wait, is the staking part where you just showed me?
Yeah, no. Okay, so there's staking, and they use the xSushi model just like Spooky does. Okay. So you deposit your Scream, you'll earn an APY 84.72, which I assume is coming from platform fees. It doesn't, that's an APY, so that's not holding a candle to the APR over here of 212.95, with good liquidity, I might add. But nevertheless, if you want single-sided and you're just super bullish on Scream and you're looking for a return while you wait, here's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I feel like I really appreciate you showing me all this because I guess like one of the problems with farm tokens is that, like farm tokens just gets dumped on, right? Just like I provide liquidity, like I'll just like use this as income and just farm and dump. But like with Spooky, with Spirit, with all these projects, you can like actually stake the farm token. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are going to be a bunch of people that will just like farm and dump all these things. But it's going to help the price if you can actually stake it for a decent yield. And if you're bullish on the Fantom ecosystem, that like let's say in the next few months or even years, it makes sense to just like maybe sell half, farm and dump half, and then with the other half just stake it, right, and lock it up, whether it be for like 1 year, 2 years, like whatever, right? So there's a lot of DeFi primitives already available on Fantom. There's two great dexes. There's Taro, which is like a leveraged yield farming protocol that also has like lending protocol features. Scream, which is a pure native protocol. Pure lending protocol, as well as stake, and then Popsicle. Just lots of apps for farmers to utilize. So I feel like we can't end the video before talking about Curve, right? I feel like Curve is like necessary, I believe, in like every single ecosystem. Yeah, can you go to the root tab and like go over like how long they've had these incentive programs for?
Yeah, so Curve, and this is actually a really good segue into talking about the developer incentive program, because I wanted to correct any misconceptions on exactly what that was. So yeah, Curve has some decent returns, right? You can see 17.5% on this pool, but you'll also notice they're giving a WFTM reward as well, which that came straight from the Fantom Foundation due to them meeting particular TVL requirements, and I'll explain what that is in a second. So I mean, it's just straight up Curve. Now, one thing that should be noted is USDT on that side. On this side is called FUSDT, which was a token that was created by Popsicle Finance. It was essentially the initial liquidity that we ever got over here. So Fantom actually popped off. I mean, for anyone that was watching, it just went great guns about a week and a half ago when the Fantom Foundation announced a incentive program. Now, this is not a liquidity mining program. This is not going to go to farmers. This is an incentive program for people who develop on the Fantom ecosystem. If they hit certain milestones of TVL and are able to maintain that for a couple of months, then they're going to get paid out pretty handsomely. And the way that it works is if you build something and you hit 5 million in TVL, you maintain that for 60 days, they're going to give you 1 million Fantom spread out over 12 months. So you're essentially going to get like $120,000 a month if you can build a dApp that hits 5 million in TVL and keeps it. If you get up to 100 million in TVL, which is where Curve, where Curve made it to, they're going to give you 12 million Fantom spread out. Oh, you're going to get 1 million Fantom a month. So as of right now, it's going to be $1.5 million per month if you can create a dApp that gets $100 million in TVL and keeps it for a 60-day period. And if it ever dips, obviously they'll stop the monthly payout. But that's essentially how that works. So when they first launched it, it was, we're looking at a $300 million incentive program that's now worth like 600 and something million dollars. So it's pretty major. So what they're doing is they don't want to incentivize people to come in and pump a bunch of liquidity into farms and then take it and run. What they want to do is they want to incentivize the people that are going to come build useful products within the ecosystem, which it's up to them to bring the TVL with them, right? So that's really what they're targeting. And that was kind of Andre's twist on what other networks have done.
Yeah, if I were to be honest, like I feel like this is a better way to like do liquidity mining programs than just like give money away to the users, because like I mean I'm a DeFi user, right? And like I consider myself a yield maxi, and I don't really, like I mean I love all these blockchains, but I'm not like loyal to any single one, right? So if the foundation is giving money away to the users, then like people like myself, I might just farm and dump for like 2 months and just go somewhere else, right? But if you're incentivizing developers, then these people will actually like build teams. like think about like, like what kind of project does this type this Fantom need, and it'll be more like long-term sustainable. So this is definitely like super bullish Fantom. Like when I saw this, I'm like, oh my god, like yeah, this is super bullish. Can you clarify, like, so I thought that there's like, once projects reach a TVL, they apply, right? They apply to get this grant
Correct.
from the Fantom Foundation, and there's like a 2-month cliff. So like if they have to wait 2 months before they're eligible, right?
They have to maintain that TVL for 2 months. So like Curve, for example, I don't know if well, obviously Curve is going to be very close to the Fantom team, right? So, but Spooky, for example, has been over the 100 million mark for more than 2 months already. And so they instantly got what they deserve. And that's why xBOO stakers can get WFTM down here. If they were to ever drop below 100 million in TVL, that monthly payment that they're getting is going to cease until they rise back above it. So that's how that works.
I see. So some projects are already eligible, right? So they can just get it right away. I mean, Curve and Spooky already got it, right? So
correct. And Spirit will probably be eligible in about 30 days as well.
Got it. Yeah, it's because Spirit has like 100 million-ish.
And there's also that $5 million level too. So if you're above 5 million in TVL, you're still going to get 1 million Fantom. So it's they're kind of incentive. And there's also a $200 million level. I don't know how much they're getting paid. Probably a lot. But so there's like checkpoints along the way.
Yeah, so it's essentially like incentivizing developers to keep improving, maintain like TVL, keep the users, and if they do a good job, then the Fantom Foundation is like, okay, thank you, like we really appreciate your work, here are some free tokens. And yeah, and it's 370 million tokens, right? Not dollars. So if the price of Fantom keeps going up, like if it goes to $2, it's a $740 million program. It's similar to like Avalanche. Avalanche, I believe, was 10 million tokens. So if the price of Avalanche keeps going up, it can be $500 million, $1 billion. I mean, Fantom can be $1 billion incentive program too, right? So if you think about it that way, like there's literally so much money flowing into these ecosystems. So it's hard not to be bullish. Ecosystems like Fantom. I'm bullish Avalanche as well, but Fantom has obviously outperformed in the past week or so. And it does make sense, right? There's like Fantom already has more, I guess, projects built out. I guess the bridge, I guess Spookyswap integrated their bridge, which makes it a lot easier too. So like definitely super bullish for Fantom. It's funny because like I was actually watching one of your videos, let's say like a couple weeks ago, like before they announced this, and I think Michael Kong, he said like, yeah, we don't want to compete with like other ecosystems, just like throw money around. But I guess something changed between that point and the video.
They found a way for it to change, because really what if I've learned anything from getting to know these guys over the last year plus, it's that they don't make moves that aren't real calculated. And I've been chatting with them about, because when Matic released, or Polygon released their liquidity mining, and then AVAX came in behind it, like the community was like, hey, what the hell, guys, like why aren't you pumping my bags, right? That's really what they were saying. And the truth is, they didn't want to just throw a bunch of money at something, try and money whip it and bring people in. That's going to extinguish itself in not too long, and then those people are just going to go somewhere else. So the cool thing about this is going to be a program that's a huge budget, that's going to last a long time. And developers are not just going to show up on Fantom and do something that's already been done, because then what they're doing is they're just sharing TVL with another project, right? They're just 50-50 in that. It encourages people to come over and do something unique, where you've got to come and put something on the network that doesn't currently exist if you want to hit any meaningful TVL numbers. And that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And if I were to say like, hey, like what's more bullish, let's say in the next 12 months, like Avalanche Rush or the Fantom Foundation, I think Fantom Foundation, like their program is more bullish longer term. I could be wrong, right? But I feel like incentivizing developers, I mean, Avalanche also incentivizes developers, but I think they focus more, or they like focus on the user side, which I appreciate. But when you're trying to build out an ecosystem, yeah, when you're trying to build out an ecosystem, I guess it does make sense to like focus on the developers first, because what they can do is like, okay, they can like throw 370 million Fantom to the developers, and maybe 2022, 2023, they can say, okay, like we have all these unique applications. now let's pay the users out, right? Now let's like really throw like money into this ecosystem, and that can be like something that like, can like create like a craze, right? So definitely looking forward to the Fantom ecosystem in the next couple of months. Me personally, I thought it'll take longer for things to pop. I knew it'll pop, but I thought it'll take longer. So that was like, I guess that was a misplay on my part. But like the final questions to you is like what are you most excited for? Let's say for the rest of the year, right? For the next like let's say 2.5 months, with regards to the Fantom ecosystem.
I mean, so the thing I get most excited about is the community. I know that's going to sound a little bit weird, but like Fantom has this weird sort of thing going on where all the projects kind of help one another. And the community is very, very tight knit. For anyone watching, if you want to get plugged in, FTMAlerts Discord is a great place. We have a lot of people that are willing to help you. So a lot of projects are born out of that. We have multiple developer chats. We have a developer, they're hidden, but there's a developer chat for the OGs like Spooky and Taro and Scream and all those guys. And then there's, I'm a new developer and I need a little bit of support. All right, we'll put you in this one. And all the projects are talking to one another. They're all helping one another to integrate Fantom. And I think part of the reason is most of them were token holders prior to the bridge even existing, right? So they have this weird, same thing I do. We have a weird love for this network. I don't know anything about other networks, really. And you'll never hear me speaking bad about any other network because I really want us all to kind of coexist. I think there's enough room for everybody, right? But all of us kind of have this weird love for our network. And we know that if we can, rising tide raises all ships on Fantom. So what I'm most excited to see is somebody that will take the Taro concept that they look at and they go, okay, this is not complete. Here's how I'm going to fix this even more. And then we've got the next iteration of this under a different name, right? Because they forked it and they made it better. And that's what's cool about crypto is you take an idea, you change 20% of it, and all of a sudden the whole thing changes. So who the hell knows what's going to be super cool in the next 6 months. My personal feeling, Taro sitting at a $16.5 million market cap is a no-brainer. And ICE. Those are my two calls.
All right, so Austin says Taro and ICE. I guess I'll take a more humble approach and say Fantom and xBOO.
And BOO, yeah. Well, BOO and Spirit are all day, but if I were to kind of weave away from the obvious, it would be Taro and ICE.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think this has been a great video. I think it has been a pretty good overview of like the entire ecosystem, and I'm sure this video will be outdated in like 1 or 2 months because these developer incentives will like create like more applications. So for anyone that's interested in learning more about you, hearing more from you, like where can they find you on YouTube, Twitter, etc.?
Yeah, so on Twitter, I'm at FTMAlerts. And if you want to like get actually involved, discord.gg/FTMAlerts. And if you go on YouTube and you just type in FTMAlerts, it'll pull me up. I'm pretty sure I'm the only channel with that name. If I'm not, I'm coming after you for trademarks, buddy. So yeah, you should be able to find it. Yeah, come join us. We'd love to welcome you over to the Fantom side. Red pill you.
Yeah, and the growth of your channel has been pretty crazy. I feel like, I think on Monday I gave you a shout out. Yeah, like you had like 1.2K and now you're sitting at like 2.8, I believe.
Yeah, and dude, you gave me some good love.
I mean, you deserve more love, right? Because I mean, you've stuck with Fantom when it wasn't doing anything, and now like you're the guy. You're the FTM guy. So yeah, I'll provide links in the description for all those links. And make sure to subscribe to his channel. Like he makes videos like a couple times a week. He has, because he's so well connected in the ecosystem, he has the ability to like bring guests on, right? Which is really, really valuable. And I look forward to all of your videos in the next coming months, years, etc. So thanks for coming on, Austin, and thank you for watching. Have a great day and have fun farming out there.
Thanks, guys.